He stands at the edge of the world. No head, no eyes, no breath. Yet, the cliffside beneath his feet feels the weight of his stance. Dust from 1,000 years settles on his shoulders, undisturbed by the wind that howls through the valley below. This is the figure that defied the silence of eternity. Long before history found its voice, the world was not ours. It belonged to the gods. High above the clouds, the heavenly emperor held the reins of reality, demanding a singular, absolute submission from everything that lived and breathed. To exist was to bow. To survive was to serve. Every mountain peak, every river, and every soul in the valley below lived under the shadow of his command. The sky was his fortress, and the lightning was his gavel. Order was absolute. Silence was the law. But on that cliff, the headless sentinel remains, staring into a horizon that long ago forgot the sound of his name. He is the anchor of a defiance that refused to be buried by time. The gods believed they had erased him, but the earth remembers the man who stood when everyone else fell. The defiance did not begin with a war. It began with a climb. Mount Changyang rose like a jagged tooth against the sky, its slopes slick with ice and ancient stone. Xing Tian hauled himself upward, fingers hooked into frozen crevices, his lungs burning with the thin, bitter air of the summit. Every muscle in his body strained against the gravity of his purpose. He reached the peak. He stood. The silence of the gods was thick, heavy enough to choke the breath from a lesser man. He looked up at the impenetrable bank of clouds where the emperor waited. He did not bow. He did not kneel. He tightened his grip on the handle of his bronze axe until his knuckles turned white. He planted his boots, felt the mountain rock beneath him, and drew a breath that seemed to pull the oxygen from the very atmosphere. Then, he opened his throat. The sound was not a shout, it was a tectonic shift. It ripped through the stagnant air, vibrating against the stone and tearing the clouds wide open. The sky fractured. The era of silent submission ended with that single, earth-shaking roar. The heavens did not take the insult lightly. Lightning lashed out, hitting the peak with the force of a falling star. White-hot arcs tore through the summit, turning solid stone into molten glass in a heartbeat. Rain began to fall, but it did not wash the land clean. It churned the dirt and debris into thick, suffocating rivers of mud that surged down the slopes. Xing Tian charged. He did not dodge the storms. He sprinted straight into the heart of the tempest. Blasts of celestial fire erupted from the clouds, searing the air, but he met them with his shield. The impact sent tremors through the mountain, rattling the very bones of the earth. He took the brunt of the divine fury, his boots carving deep furrows into the shifting, unstable mud. The ground buckled, groaning under the weight of his impossible forward momentum. He was a singular point of resistance against an infinite, burning sky. The axe's head caught the light, a flash of bronze against the encroaching darkness. He closed the distance, his shield glowing from the repeated heat strikes, refusing to yield an inch of ground as the mountain fractured beneath them. The clash was total. It was absolute. It was the sound of a man trying to break the sky with nothing but his own defiance. The sky turned white. It was not a natural light. It was the cold, surgical edge of the emperor's intent. For a heartbeat, the thunder ceased, strangled by the sheer intensity of the celestial strike. A single, blinding flash carved through the storm, faster than thought, sharper than any blade of mortal steel. The air whistled as the strike found its mark. The sound of the collision was not a crash, but a sickening, final snap. Xing Tian's momentum broke. His shield hit the mud, the metal ringing hollow and flat against the earth. A heavy weight tumbled from the peak, bouncing once against the jagged rocks before vanishing into the dark, bottomless abyss of the valley below. Silence reclaimed the mountain. The rain continued to fall, but the fire in the sky had vanished. The gods lowered their weapons. They watched the horizon, certain that the rebellion had been extinguished in that single, decisive stroke. The world grew still, frozen in the expectation of total victory. The threat was gone. The challenger was headless. The war, they believed, was over. The silence did not last. Deep beneath the mud, the mountain floor groaned. It was a rhythmic, grinding sound, like tectonic plates struggling to shift. The gods turned, their weapons half lowered, eyes searching the haze. The earth trembled again, harder this time, sending tremors out from the center of the clearing. In the center of the crater, the headless form shifted. It did not stumble. It did not hesitate. It pushed itself upward with a slow, mechanical precision that defied every law of nature. As the body locked its knees into a standing position, the skin across the chest began to ripple. Muscles tore and rearranged themselves under the surface. The flesh parted, splitting open with the wet, tearing sound of raw power. Where there should have been only ribs and lungs, Two circular indentations deepened into dark, staring eyes. Below them, the navel stretched, widening into a jagged, vertical slit that pulled back like a lip. It was a face carved from agony and ire. The body stood tall. It did not need a brain to know its purpose. It did not need a head to hold its hate. The new eyes locked onto the clouds, and the mouth was hollow in the torso let out a vibration that shook the very air. The sky remained silent, but the mountain roared. Xing Tian gripped his axe, the bronze handle biting into his palms. He did not seek the emperor in the clouds anymore. He sought the truth of his own persistence. He moved. The first swing cut through the humid air, a heavy, whistling arc of iron. It struck empty space, but the intent was absolute. He swung again, and again. There was no rhythm of a heart, no breath to catch, no fatigue to slow his limbs. Every strike was a rejection of the divine order. The gods watched from the peaks, their certainty replaced by a cold, creeping dread. They had taken his voice, his sight, and his life, yet they could not take his motion. He fought with a relentless, mechanical grace. He did not care if the axe hit flesh or stone. He did not care if the battle ended in an hour or an eternity. He was the living embodiment of the strike. Each movement was a protest, a defiant pulse against a world that demanded he kneel. He turned, his torso face locked forward, and swung once more. The sound of the metal ringing against the wind was the only law that mattered now. He fought not to win, but because he refused to stop. The myth of the headless warrior did not end on that mountain. It bled into the fabric of time. We see him today in the climber reaching for a hold on a sheer rock face, fingers raw and muscles screaming. We see him in the explorer stepping into the dark unknown, and in the person standing tall after a crushing loss. The world demands we bow, but some refuse. We do not remember him because he won the war against the gods. We remember him because he refused to stop fighting when everything was taken from him. He is the pulse and the wrist of the defeated who rise again. He is the voice that speaks when there is no throat to carry the sound. Legends may fade into the dust of history, but courage never dies. It lives in the refusal to be erased. It lives in the act of standing against the impossible. Xing Tian remains the eternal mirror of our own resilience. When the sky falls and the ground splits, we do not kneel. We take up the weight. We keep moving. We fight, not for the outcome, but for the right to exist in defiance of the dark. The war never truly ends, and neither does the spirit that sustains it.